It was Halloween night, and Sarah had just moved into a quaint old house on the outskirts of a small, sleepy town. She'd always loved the quiet, away from the noise of the city. But something about this house felt different. The locals whispered about it, calling it the Old Walker House, but no one ever explained why. Sarah shrugged off the rumors, attributing them to old town superstition. That evening, she lit a few candles, settled on her couch with a blanket, and let the wind howl outside. The faint sound of trick-or-treaters' laughter drifted through the air, but they didn't come to her house. No one did. As the hours passed and midnight approached, the wind grew louder, carrying with it strange, unsettling whispers. They sounded faint at first, like a distant conversation between two people just outside her window. Curious, but unnerved, Sarah pulled back the curtains and peered outside. There, in the yard, stood two figures, a man and a woman, dressed in 1920s attire. Their clothes were damp, as if they'd walked through the river nearby, and their skin had a sickly pallor under the dim light of the moon. The woman raised her hand and waved at Sarah, her lips curled into a slow, eerie smile. Startled, Sarah backed away from the window. Why were they here so late? She quickly grabbed her phone to call the police, but her service was out. Frustrated and uneasy, she glanced outside again. The figures were gone. Sarah breathed a sigh of relief but jumped when the doorbell rang. She crept to the door, her heart pounding in her chest, and peered through the peephole. No one. Then the doorknob slowly began to turn. She bolted to lock it, her hands shaking. But before she could, the door creaked open just enough for a gust of cold air to swirl into the room, extinguishing all the candles at once. The whispers grew louder now, echoing inside the house. A voice, cold and disembodied, drifted from the darkness behind her. They never left. Sarah whipped around, her breath catching in her throat. The figures were inside now, standing at the base of the stairs. The woman's eyes, milky and hollow, met Sarah's. "Come join us," the woman whispered. Sarah tried to scream, but no sound came. The last thing she saw before everything went dark was the man's icy hand reaching for her, pulling her into the cold embrace of the house's shadows. The next morning, the town was abuzz with gossip. Another resident of the old Walker house had disappeared without a trace. No one ever stayed in that house for long, and no one ever left it alive. But the two figures in the yard, they always had room for one more.